Friends, Sable's ordered to start pumping oil again. That's right here in my backyard. I've got your basics on what just happened. Essentially, oil production, or the disastrous running off of pretty much every refinery here on the West Coast, has led the federal government to step in and order oil production off the California coast using a wartime law. That's how bad it's gotten out here. I'll explain. Last week, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright invoked something called the Defense Production Act, or DPA, a national emergency switch that lets the government tell private companies to prioritize certain efforts. They use this to restart operations at the San Ynez offshore oil unit and its pipeline system near Santa Barbara, developed by Sable Offshore Corp, an independent oil and gas company. It's been used for wars and recently during COVID to fast-track ventilators and vaccines, the DPA. And now it's being used for oil because California has a problem, and it's bigger than most people realize. Over 60% of our oil now comes from foreign countries, and a lot of that oil travels through one of the most dangerous checkpoints in the world, the Strait of Hormuz. We've been hearing a little bit about that lately. That's not just expensive, it's a national security risk now. Also, tankering it from the Caribbean is expensive and so bad for the environment. The San Ynez facility alone could produce about 50,000 barrels a day, boosting California's in-state production by roughly 15% and replacing 1.5 million barrels of foreign oil every month. And the other little issue, California is mostly cut off from U.S. pipeline networks, meaning it can't easily access domestic oil from other states. So this is about energy independence on the West Coast and fueling U.S. military bases reliably. Some of my neighbors got right on the cranky old lib tom-toms and started playing the but what about past oil spills and environmental risks game. Again, how we've been importing it has been polluting like crazy, but there have been a couple serious spills, one in 1969, which was a massive offshore blowout spill. It spilled up to 100,000 barrels of oil. Not great. And another one in 2015 also didn't help. But the ocean floor off Santa Barbara is already leaking oil constantly and naturally. At one site alone, Coal Oil Point, 100 to 150 barrels of oil seep into the ocean every single day. That's tens of thousands of barrels every year for thousands of years. We're talking millions of barrels of oil going into the ocean already. Some scientists say controlled oil production can actually reduce that seepage because drilling relieves underground pressure, stopping oil from leaking through cracks in the seafloor. At a nearby site, seepage dropped by over 50%, and in some spots, it stopped entirely. So instead of an uncontrolled endless leak, you get a captured regulated system with modern safety tech. And economically, hundreds of jobs, millions in local revenue. Win-win-win. So why is this so controversial? I don't know, guys. You tell me.